Thank you very much for 70,000 subscribers from both me and Milo. We still can't believe it. We started off this year with just about 7,000 subscribers, and now you've grown to literally 10 times as many. So thank you all for all of the support you've given, whether you've liked the videos, commented, subscribed to the channel, or even just watched the content. And anyone who's shared the videos with friends or family as well, I can't thank you enough. And now I thought I would answer some questions that have been submitted by subscribers on both the community page on YouTube and my Discord community server, which is linked below in the description. There is a lot of print on demand, business related questions in here, but also a few personal ones, so let's get started. Question number one comes to us from Ryan 2270, and he's asking, is using ads essential to making POD, especially Amazon merch, a successful full-time job, or can you make your Amazon merch successful with just organic sales? From my experience, yes, it's definitely possible to do it organically. I didn't actually start using ads until I reached tier 20,000 on Amazon merch. That was pretty stupid. Like, I should have really done it sooner. I should have started using it sooner because it does help. But that just shows to you, it proves that it is possible. I did start in 2019, so you could argue maybe back then it was easier with just organic. Yeah, perhaps, maybe it was, but it's not impossible. I also think Juna, Detour Shirts, I don't think he started using ads that long ago, and if so, he's also not spending very much money, considering how well he's doing. He's not relied much on ads at all. And also, one thing to give you a bit of hope is I still launch a lot of new designs on Amazon or Etsy, for example. Don't put any ads on them and they start selling organically. So you don't need ads to make sales. They help you, but I'm pretty sure you can make POD a successful full-time business organically as well. Next up, we've got AJ Dize, I think, and he says, I have a total of 270 listings on different POD platforms, still not having a single sale. What am I doing wrong? I don't know. Now, this is a very good question, and it's also questions that I get all the time. I've got 100, 200, 300 designs or listings, and I've not had any sales, or I've only had one sale. You know, what's going wrong? There's a few other factors that play into this, like how long have you had these listings? Did you put them up 2 weeks ago? Did you put them up half a year ago? That definitely makes a big difference. If you only put them up very recently and they haven't had a sale, then that's extremely common. If you put them up like 6 months ago and still nothing is sold, then I would say there's probably something wrong with your designs, with your listing SEO. Maybe your niche research wasn't good enough to sort of guarantee some more of these to start selling. If they're more recent, if you only uploaded in the past few weeks and you didn't get any sales, it is very, very common. That's my experience as well. Most of the time, still, even after doing this for multiple years, new designs do not sell straight away, even if you've uploaded 200 of them. Like, I've probably uploaded thousands of designs this year that haven't had a sale yet, because it sometimes just takes its time for the sites to index, for customers to eventually stumble upon it and eventually buy it. And it has to do a lot with your niche research, with how good your designs are, with your listing SEO. So without actually seeing examples of your work, it is really hard to tell you what you're doing wrong. But bear in mind that if you're just starting out, these are your first 200 designs, and you've only been doing this for a few weeks or a couple of months, then this experience is totally normal. It was very similar for me at the start as well. I actually made a video talking about this very specific question in more detail, so do check that out if you're still struggling or still not sure what I'm going on about here. The next question comes to us by 42p, and he's asking, what can you do if someone steals your design and sells it on an own website? Is it worth the time to do anything about it? Now, if they're selling it on their own website, I don't know exactly what you mean by this, but let's say they're selling it on a separate marketplace, then you could contact that marketplace. Typically, if they have a support email or support chat, you could tell them about them stealing your design. You could show them proof of the original design file if they ask for it, and then you should be able to get this taken down due to copyright infringement. If they literally have it on their own website that they host themselves, then that would make it harder. You have to try and reach out to them directly, and you know, if someone's stealing designs, they're probably not going to be too responsive. Maybe you would have to threaten legal action. To be honest, I don't know what the best course of action is in that case. If you're really keen to get someone to take down your design, it is almost impossible to prevent this, in my opinion, because the more designs you create and the more designs you also create that get sales, the more they will get stolen, and there's nothing really you can do about it, unfortunately. especially marketplaces like Amazon. They make the PNG file available publicly, which makes it even easier to steal. If you always chase these copyright infringements and try and get your designs taken down constantly, you will be spending your entire day just chasing and chasing. You might get a few taken down, but in the same time, new ones will be stolen and uploaded elsewhere. So I try to ignore this. I know that there's people selling my designs. I know that I could maybe get a few taken down, but it would just take too much effort. I wish there was a service, actually, a company that provided the service of doing it all for you. That would be great. So if anyone knows someone, a company or an agency that does this, let us know in the comments. But yeah, that is my opinion about your question. Zoe here from Dhaka asks, how can we make a design like in this post? And I'll put the post up on the screen right now so you can see what he's referring to. A lot of people asked about the fonts or about the template for this, so I thought I'd just quickly show you how I did it. It wasn't a template, it's mainly just nice looking fonts, to be honest. But here we've got the text in Illustrator. If I click into this, you can see this font at the top and bottom is called Intro Head. And if I click from letter to letter, you'll see that the type right here or the version of the font changes. So I've always used like a different variation with different textures. And then in the middle, we've got Thirsty, Rough, Bulk 2. And I will try and remember to leave the links to these fonts in the description. They're not free, unfortunately, but they are some really, really nice looking fonts. To be fair, I've used these a lot, especially the top font for Submit. I've used that one a lot in my t-shirt designs as well. And then I just dragged this over, outlined all of the letters to make it easier to apply this color scheme. I do like alternating the colors in between different letters, and then all that was left from here was dragging it into Photoshop, adding a bit of the background texture, a bit of white text at the top and the bottom, and then exporting it. The reason I did it in a roundabout way with like Illustrator and Photoshop is because I like working in Illustrator, but I did have a Photoshop template set up for my YouTube posts. So yeah, that's how that was created. I hope that helps answer your question. And overall, I think it's just this font that makes this design look nice. Right, so next up, a bunch of personal questions, so get ready. These were all asked by Nightmare in the Discord server, and I'll try and answer them briefly because there's a lot of them. So, are you married? No. If not, when are you going to? Maybe after you've taken me for a date, Nightmare. I don't know. Do you want to move to the USA? If not, what's the reason? Currently, I don't. I am looking to maybe move around in Europe a bit next year because that's closer to my family, to my friends. I'm in the UK right now. I don't have anything against the USA, like I would consider it maybe a few years in the future if I'm still interested in moving then. Do you play video games? If so, what are your favorite games in the past and what are they now? I don't play video games anymore. I haven't for a while, I think over a year now, but I used to play them quite a lot. I was a big gamer. So in terms of my favorite games, there used to be definitely Call of Duty is what I played the most. My favorites there were Modern Warfare 2, the original, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, and I used to edit those games quite a bit as well, edit videos, YouTube videos and montages, and I also played quite a few Star Wars games.
Hello there.
My favorite probably being Star Wars Republic Commando, quite an old one, and I also like the Battlefront games and Empire at War. Do you have any plans to do something big in print on demand, perhaps making your own POD sites like Etsy and Amazon Merch? No, I do not. Maybe some tools to help people out, but nothing of that scale. What are your hobbies? Do you do anything else other than print on demand business? No, this is literally all I do day and night. Nothing else, just print on demand and YouTube. No, but seriously, I do go to the gym quite a bit and enjoy that. And I do go cycling from time to time if the weather allows. In the UK, it's not the best country for cycling, trust me. What are your favorite animals? I would say dogs and cats. I'm definitely both a dog and a cat person. I grew up with a cat and now I've had a dog for a few years. As you know, you might have seen him in the videos, Milo, so big fan of those animals. But yeah, I don't discriminate. I do like most animals and probably have some other favorites as well that I can't think of. So name your favorite, and here there's a long list of things. I'll try and answer some of these. So my favorite color is blue. Favorite fruits, probably blueberries. Restaurants, I don't have a specific restaurant, but I do quite like Greek food or Greek restaurants. Drinks, don't know, to be honest. Cars, I do like Audis. My favorite place is my office. Favorite fast food, if I'm getting fast food, I quite like burritos, pizza, that sort of stuff. Favorite dessert, probably would be something like cookies, brownies. Ice cream flavor, stracciatella. Pizza, so with pizza, quite boring. I'll probably have something like ham, chicken, mushrooms, broccoli. And I do like as well in Germany, they often put sauce hollandaise on pizza. That is pretty nice. Donuts, no idea. Don't really care about donuts much. Coffee, don't drink coffee. Favorite dishes, I don't know. I'm very, very open to many dishes. Then we've got sport. I used to play football, European football that is, so I'd probably say that. I don't follow it closely, but you know, I do like watching it if it's on for a World Cup or something of that nature. And what do you find funny but makes you laugh? My humor is, or my sense of humor is quite flat, I would say, or dry. To give you an idea, like some films that I like, for example, or shows would be those really old naked gun movies. Very, very stupid humor. If anyone knows them, let me know in the comments. In terms of shows, I quite like 2.5 Men, Family Guy as well. So that might give you an idea. Sys Driver asks, how long does a tier up take? This is a hard question to answer because Amazon Merch does not make it very clear. You have to hit the sales target in most cases. So if you're in tier 10, you have to get 10 sales to be eligible for a tier up. Tier 25, you need to get 25 sales, but that doesn't guarantee that you get tiered up straight away. For most people, it takes a few days, a few weeks at least. Sometimes it can take months and months, unfortunately. So I don't know exactly how long it takes, but it does happen. Trust me, even if you've been waiting for a long time, it is quite common. We hear about this a lot in the Discord server, that people have to wait a while sometimes, but they do eventually get their tier up. Just make sure you have the sales target hit, you have your slots filled out, and I think that's all you can do. Unfortunately, maybe try uploading to drafts as well to show that you're active and working on the account, and I hope you get tiered up soon. Next up, we've got a question from Gertyang83, and he's asking, what ad strategy do you recommend for a new product? Do you run ads more aggressively to get a first sale or the product ranked? I don't advertise all of my new products. I typically only advertise them aggressively if I'm either posting a design for, say, Halloween, like a few months ahead, or for Christmas, a specific event. That's when I will go in a bit more aggressively to get it ranked ahead of that event. If it's just a normal evergreen design, I'll typically just start with average bids, nothing special. If it's in a niche where I know there is potential, I've already got some validation with my other designs, and I'm maybe adding a new design to that niche that I think has potential, that's when I will be more aggressive and actually run higher bids to get a design ranked, especially now in like Q4. That's sometimes what I do. Or with hoodies, I've found a lot of sort of hoodie niches or designs that sell recently. Well, I'll have higher bids because obviously you can have quite a bigger profit with a hoodie. If you price it at $34.99, you get like $7, $39.99, you get $10. So there is a lot of ad spend and clicks that you can use up whilst still being profitable. So that's it in terms of ads. So with new designs, what do I recommend? It really does depend on the niche and what your strategy is. You don't have to be aggressive with everything. Sometimes just starting with very average bids and sort of working your way up slowly can help as well. The next question is quite a long one by the Awakening Project 1. I actually won't read out the whole thing, I'll just summarize it. Essentially what he's asking is, if we're using MyDesigns and we're uploading 20 designs to a new folder, and then we create mockups or different versions of the design, do all of these different files count towards the storage limit, or does MyDesigns only count the original 20 designs that we uploaded? And the answer here is simply all of the files count. If you're creating lots of mockups and stuff, that will also be counted up and added up towards your storage limit. Dion Low is asking, which platform would you recommend for anyone looking to get into POD? Thanks for the great content. There are a few recommendations here. It does depend on your situation a little bit, but if you can get into Amazon Merch, definitely start with that. It's one of the best or highest potential marketplaces, and it's fairly hands-off in terms of, you don't have to fulfill the orders, you don't have to do any customer service. So try and get into Amazon Merch. If you can't, the next best option in terms of potential would be Etsy, at least from my experience, but Etsy is also a bit harder as a beginner. So especially if you're not as techie and you struggle with the setup process of these different things, then Etsy might not be the best. And you also have to manage the orders, you have to pay for them up front, for the printing, for the shipping, you have to talk back and forth with customers, answer questions. There is a lot more work involved with Etsy. That's why it's not as beginner friendly, I would say. One or two platforms that are quite beginner friendly, that are good for getting started and getting used to things, would be Spreadshirt and TeePublic. I quite like both of those websites for beginners, but the potential is not that high. If you compare it to Etsy and Amazon, you're very unlikely to actually get to like a 4-figure month on TeePublic or Spreadshirt. I have done it on TeePublic a few times, but not on Spreadshirt, and it is definitely on the more rare side, whereas Etsy and Amazon, it is quite achievable to get to 4 figures a month. Amy Nicholas Official asks, flying research, flying upload question, is it a good strategy to sign up in Q1 and set up the automatic uploader for other POD sites? How many uploads a day or week do you try to push through? Thanks, Philip. So is it a good idea? In my opinion, it is. I have made an entire dedicated video giving you my opinion, or like my 2-year review of using Flying Upload and showcasing the pros and cons. So anyone who's contemplating Flying Upload, go check out that video. The reason why I recommend it basically is because if you have a lot of designs out there, and especially if they're getting sales for you on Amazon or Etsy, then pushing them onto other marketplaces is almost going to guarantee that you will get some extra sales. And Flying Upload does make that a lot easier once you've got it set up. How many uploads a day or a week do you try to push through? So this definitely depends on the marketplace because they all have their different limitations. Displate, for example, if you get into it, you can only do 10 uploads a day. On some accounts, it's limited to 1 upload a day. So there's quite low. Then Redbubble, I think now the limit is 30. It used to be 50, if I'm not wrong. On Spreadshirt, it's 20 a day. On Tostadora, there's no limit in terms of daily uploads. It depends on the marketplace, but generally you can go through a few hundred designs a week that you can get uploaded onto multiple platforms. Comments 9065 has got 3 different questions here. So could you please share how do you come up with new ideas? This is really hard to explain because I don't really have a specific strategy that I do every time or that I use to come up with new ideas. I try and give you an insight into my thought process in my evergreen niche research videos and also the trending niches videos. So if you haven't seen those, check them out. I also have an old video titled something like 4 ways to enter evergreen niches, where I actually show you some different strategies. I show you examples of coming up with ideas or using what's out there for inspiration, turn it into a new concept, that sort of stuff. So I hope those videos help you out there. In terms of pricing strategy, I recently made a video exactly about this topic of pricing strategy for merch by Amazon. It's like 20 minutes long, quite in depth and with a lot of tips. I personally typically upload my designs at a higher price, say between $17.99, $19.99, because I do have a lot of slots to fill on Amazon. And then if something sells, I increase the price, usually up to $19.99 and leave it there. But there is different pricing strategies for different tiers, for different scenarios, situations and goals. So check out that more in-depth video if you want to learn more. And is the generic word or part of a trademarked phrase safe to use? So the trademark thing is always a bit of a gray area. You never know for sure, unfortunately, especially with Amazon, but generally generic words I think are safe to use. They shouldn't technically be trademarked or trademarkable, but there is a lot of common words that are registered. So from my experience, you don't really get rejections for these, but still proceed with caution. Trademarked phrases, or using a part of a trademarked phrase. If it's like a 4, 5, 6 word phrase and you're only using 1 or 2 words of that phrase, there's not going to be an issue, so you don't really have to worry about that. So this next question by Abid Hussein is an interesting one. It is one that's hard to answer again, but I'm going to try my best. So if someone from Canada sells POD or merch on demand in the USA or any other country, will he require to set up a business in that country first, or get something like an EIN number and also file tax returns in all of those countries in addition to home country Canada? Now, that is an assumption that is worth making or thinking about, but from my experience, it's not true. Now, this is not tax advice. Like, I'm the last person to ask when it comes to tax stuff. I don't have a clue. I do highly recommend speaking to an accountant, to a tax advisor about your specific situation, because it's going to be different from country to country and depending on how you sell print on demand as well. I don't file tax returns in any other countries than the UK, if that helps you out, and I don't have a business registered in all of those countries either. And in most cases, POD is just you receive a royalty, and it's the marketplace like Amazon or Redbubble, they're the ones that are actually selling the products, so they are the ones that have to worry about all this tax stuff. And that's my understanding, but definitely speak to an accountant about this. Don't trust anyone just giving you advice about this online or any YouTubers, because everyone's situation is different and tax is complicated. Another question by 42p. Does having a successful product in a specific sub-niche make the web shop favor your other designs in the same sub-niche? Do you level up in a sense in the tags of that product you sell? I don't think that's the case whatsoever. You might assume that the algorithms, they favor your other designs if you've got a design that started selling. I don't believe that really. It's about the design that has already sold. That's the one that's getting leveled up or promoted more, especially if the conversion rate is high, because if the conversion rate of a design of yours is high, then the marketplace is going to be inclined to show it to more customers, because customers seem to resonate with this. But I don't think your other designs will necessarily be promoted more. In some platforms like TeePublic, There is a tier system where if you move up to a tier, meaning if you are getting good sales, if you have got good designs, then more of your designs should be shown to customers. So that's a sort of what you're alluding to there, maybe, or a similarity with your question. But overall, no, I don't think the algorithm favors your other designs just because one design in that niche has started to sell. Nasarovic asks, I always spend a lot of time to choose what font to use. How do you get to know which fits good or the most? Thanks in advance for the answer. I don't think there's necessarily a font that fits the most. There are definitely fonts that fit better than others to specific niches or topics or target audiences, target groups. It's hard to give like a one size fits all answer right here. I would recommend to you looking at the niche you're designing for and checking what are other people using, what sort of style seems to work, what resonates with the customer, you know, the products with the lowest BSR. Those types of fonts are probably a good choice. Also, compare designs that are aimed at women to designs that are aimed at men and look at the differences between the different fonts. I do have a playlist with lots and lots of font videos, and I usually, whilst I show examples of fonts, I usually try and add some t-shirt designs as well and some insight into what sort of niche I would use these fonts for, or whether they're better for men or for women. So if this is a topic you struggle with, I highly recommend checking out that playlist. Not only will you get a lot of new free fonts to use, but you will also get advice in terms of how or when to use them. How can I start freelancing with t-shirt design? Now, I'm not a t-shirt design freelancer, so I may not be the best person to answer this, but nevertheless, what I would do is sign up to websites like Fiverr and Upwork. People per hour is another one. You need to ideally have a good portfolio of t-shirt designs, and then what you can do there is you can either, I think, apply for different jobs. So people will put out t-shirt design job postings, and you can send an application, you know, write a little message, an introduction to yourself, show design examples, and then you might get hired for a job, or people might find your portfolio and hire you from there. So those are some freelancing platforms to check out if this is what you're interested in. How do you stay up to date with new tools, techniques, and AI news? And also, how do you integrate them into your workflow without disrupting the existing one? So staying up to date, I mainly just do that through YouTube, watching other print on demand YouTubers, or one good channel for AI related stuff and news is Matt Wolf, or Matt Wolfie, don't know which pronunciation is right. And sometimes the Discord channel, right? People would just recommend a new tool, or someone is asking, how do you find keywords? And people send recommendations. I'll check that out and then see if it's something worth trying as well and maybe making a video about. So those are my sources of staying up to date. How do I integrate them into my workflow without disrupting the existing one? I don't really see it as a disruption. It's just whilst I'm doing my work, I kind of think about which one of the tools in my library is most applicable or maybe most useful for what I'm trying to achieve. And then that's what I go with. So my workflow is fluid in a sense, and it's not always going to be the same, not always going to be the same tools. I don't really know what else to say to that, but I hope that helps you out. Cartoon section 7495, I think he asked this question twice on YouTube. So how I'll get accepted into Amazon Merchant Demand. I tried too many times before and I rejected. I'm from India, please help me. So sadly, I don't have an exact answer for you. And the reason I've not made a video about this topic, even though it's highly requested, is because there is no definite way to get accepted. Unfortunately, that's the sad reality. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You just have to keep trying. There is no secret method that I know of. All I did was tell them that I'm a graphic designer, that I'm passionate about art and design and stuff like this, and I attached, I think, a Behance portfolio of my previous design work. That's all I remember. It's a long time ago. I think the reason why so many people keep getting rejected is because the program is so popular, and they will probably get hundreds of applications a day, maybe even thousands, and they will have a threshold of, I don't know how many people, but as an example, let's say they can let in 50 people per day, right? Once those 50 people are in, everything else will just get rejected, I'm guessing, and I wouldn't take it personal if you get rejected, because I doubt that a human reads through every single application. It's just that once the threshold is met, the rest might get discarded. That's my guess. Again, nobody knows the inside scoop, sadly. I wish I could tell you like a surefire way of doing this, but unfortunately I can't. And the last two questions for today: is it still relevant to sell on tier 3 markets, and are you still uploading to KDP? The tier 3 markets, I asked him about this and he meant Redbubble, Spreadshirt, TeePublic, etc. I do think it's still relevant. It's maybe not as high potential as it used to be back in the day, because, you know, Redbubble, TeePublic, they have those tier systems now, which means you earn less. It definitely used to be easier on Spreadshirt, for example, to make a lot of money 10 years ago. We discussed this in a podcast with Christian Heidorn. He used to make like 6-figure sales, I think, per year on there, and now that's like highly unlikely, unfortunately, but it's still relevant. You can still make hundreds extra. Something like Displayed, for example, has got really good potential. I make a lot of sales on there. I mentioned that in my Displayed dedicated video. So you never know which platform can do really well for your designs. If you've only tried one or two, one of your best platforms might still be waiting out there. Also, Tostadora has done really well for me at TeePublic in the past, so they're still worth considering. And I helped someone with this recently who then very quickly started getting sales on both Spreadshirt and Tostadora. So it is worth testing your designs on other platforms still, even if they're sort of tier 3. You're not going to get rich off of those marketplaces in most cases, but they're worth it if you have the extra time. And am I still uploading to KDP? Rarely. KDP has put limits in place that restrict the upload to, I don't even know what exactly it is, but it's just a few books per day or something like that. So they've made it really, really hard to publish more designs. So I barely upload to KDP these days. If you're looking to invest into some tools for print on demand, but you're not sure which ones to choose, make sure to check out this video next for help, because I review 8 of my favorite print on demand tools in depth, and I give the pros and the cons for all of them.